Trash belongs with trash. My father announced into the microphone, dangling the old yellowed passbook my grandfather had just secretly handed me. He didn't just mock it. He dropped the book straight into a bucket of melting ice and champagne. As the crowd roared with laughter, I didn't scream. I plunged my hand into the freezing water, ruined my wedding dress to save those wet pages, and walked out without looking back. Before I tell you the secret hiding inside those wet, ruined pages and how I used it to destroy my father's fake empire, tell me in the comments, what is the cruelest thing a family member has ever done to you at a celebration? I'm reading every single story. 3 days later, I walked into the First National Bank in downtown Boston. The lobby was all marble and hushed whispers, a stark contrast to the chaos I had left behind in Newport. I held the passbook in a plastic Ziploc bag. The pages were crinkled and stained with champagne residue, looking exactly like the trash my father said it was. I'm Alyssa, and at 29, I've spent my life making myself invisible. As a trauma nurse, I'm good at it. I know how to fade into the background while doctors scream and patients bleed. I know how to hold secrets. But standing there in my thrifted coat, waiting for the young teller to stop typing, I felt exposed. I need to check the balance on this, I said, sliding the bag across the polished counter. It was a gift. The teller, a girl no older than 20, picked it up with 2 fingers, her nose wrinkling slightly. She typed in the account number, probably expecting an error message or a balance of 0. Then she stopped. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She blinked, leaned closer to the screen, and the color drained from her face. "Ma'am," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please wait here. Do not leave." She didn't press a silent alarm, but she might as well have. Within seconds, the branch manager and a man in a bespoke suit, the regional director, were rushing toward me. They didn't look at my cheap coat. They looked at me like I was royalty in exile. "Miss Mercer," the director said, ushering me toward a heavy steel door in the back. "Please, we've been waiting for this account to be claimed for a very long time." They led me into a private viewing room that smelled of old paper and dust as they went to retrieve the file. I sat in the leather chair and closed my eyes, and suddenly I wasn't in a bank vault. I was 12 years old again, kneeling on the hardwood floor of my father's study. Richard sat in his armchair, swirling a glass of scotch, watching me. He had spilled it on purpose. I knew he had, but the rule was simple. Girls clean, boys conquer. Hunter was on the sofa, laughing at a video game, his feet propped up on the table I had just polished. "You missed a spot, Alyssa," Richard said softly. He didn't yell. He preferred an audience for his cruelty. He liked to see the light go out in my eyes. It was his theater. When Grandpa Samuel tried to help me up, Richard's voice turned into a whip. "Touch that rag, old man, and I'll put you in a state home so fast you won't even have time to pack your pills." I scrubbed until my knuckles bled that day. I scrubbed because I believed I had no value outside of what I could endure. The heavy clank of the vault door brought me back. I opened my eyes. I wasn't that 12-year-old girl anymore. I was the woman holding the match. The director placed a thick file on the table. "Your grandfather didn't just open a savings account, Miss Mercer. In 1982, he established a Totten Trust. He was an early investor in Apple and Microsoft. He funneled every dividend back into the portfolio untouched for 40 years. He turned the document toward me. The current value of the trust legally payable to you upon his death is $12,400,000. The number sat there on the page, black and absolute. $12,400,000. I stared at it. I thought about the champagne bucket. I thought about Richard laughing into the microphone, calling this fortune trash. He had held $12 million in his hand and thrown it away because he was too arrogant to look inside the cover. "Is there anyone else listed on the account?" I asked, my voice calm. Clinical. "No," the director said. "Just you. It's entirely yours." I touched the dried, ruined passbook. It wasn't just money. It was a weapon. And for the first time in my life, I knew exactly where to aim it. My husband, Luke, didn't look up when I walked through the door. He was hunched over his laptop at the kitchen island, surrounded by a fortress of printed spreadsheets. The air in our small apartment felt electric, charged with the static of something about to break. Luke isn't just a data analyst. He's a forensic architect of secrets. He finds the cracks in the foundation that nobody else sees. "It's not an empire, Alyssa," he said, finally turning the screen toward me. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "It's a Ponzi scheme built on bridge loans and ego." I looked at the monitor. I expected to see wealth. I expected to see the millions. Richard bragged about it every charity gala and family dinner. Instead, I saw red. "He's insolvent," Luke said. tapping a document. The mansion in Newport foreclosure proceedings started 3 weeks ago. The family trust he claims to manage, it's empty. He's been moving the same $50,000 between 6 different shell accounts to make it look like he has liquidity. And here's the kicker. He's being audited. The IRS sent him a notice of deficiency last month. I stared at the numbers. The man who had thrown my grandfather's legacy into a champagne bucket wasn't a titan of industry. He was a drowning man flailing in a sea of debt. He didn't just want money. He needed it to stay out of federal prison. My phone rang. It was him. I put it on speaker. Luke stopped typing. Alyssa. Richard's voice filled the kitchen. There was no apology, no hesitation, just the brash confidence of a man who believed he still owned the world. I've been thinking about that shack your grandfather left you. The cottage. What about it? I asked. My hand rested on the table to steady the tremor, but my voice was ice. I'm going to do you a favor, he said. I've spoken to my real estate attorney. We can liquidate it quickly. I'll handle the sale, get you a fair market price, and invest the proceeds into the family business, so you actually get a return. You're a nurse, honey. You don't know the first thing about property taxes or maintenance. I'm trying to save you from a headache. He wanted the cottage. It was the only tangible thing Samuel had left me besides the passbook. It was worth maybe $300,000. Peanuts to a billionaire, but a lifeline to a desperate fraudster. I'm not selling, Dad, I said. The line went silent. Then the mask slipped. You listen to me, he snarled, his voice dropping an octave. That old man was mentally incompetent when he signed that deed. I have witnesses ready to testify that you manipulated a senile geriatric into signing over family assets. If you don't sign that transfer paperwork by Friday, I will sue you for elder abuse. I will drag you through probate, court, until you're bankrupt. Do you understand me? You're out of your depth, Alyssa. He wasn't protecting me. He was hunting for liquidity. Any asset he could seize, sell, and funnel into his black hole of debt. I understand perfectly, I said. Good. I'll have the papers sent over. The line clicked dead. I looked at Luke. He wasn't scared. He was smiling. A cold, sharp smile that matched the feeling rising in my chest. Richard thought he was bullying a helpless daughter. He didn't know he had just handed us the blueprint to his own destruction. He was desperate, and desperate men make mistakes. I waited 24 hours before calling him back. Silence is a powerful amplifier. It lets the desperation breed. Luke and I spent that day not in panic, but in preparation. We didn't hire a lawyer to fight the sale of the cottage. We hired a graphic designer to forge a portfolio of investment documents. When I finally dialed Richard's number, I put on the performance of my life. I didn't summon the confident woman who had walked out of the bank vault. I summoned the 12-year-old girl terrified of spilling scotch. Dad, I whispered when he picked up. I let my voice tremble. I'm sorry I hung up. I didn't know what to say. You should be sorry, he snapped. But the edge was duller. He was listening. It's not just the cottage, I said, pitching my voice to the perfect frequency of naive panic. I went to the bank, the passbook. It wasn't empty. The line went dead silent. I could practically hear him doing the mental calculus. How much? He asked. The greed leaked through the phone like oil. 12 million. I choked out. 12 million. But Dad, I don't know what to do. The bank manager started talking about capital gains taxes and federal audits. And I think I'm in trouble. If the IRS finds out I have this, he'll take half of it. I don't know how to hide it. It was the perfect bait. I handed him exactly what he believed about me. That I was weak, stupid, and incapable of handling power. And I handed him exactly what he needed. A massive injection of liquidity to cover his own crimes. Listen to me very carefully, Alyssa, he said. His voice transformed instantly from bully to savior. It was chilling. Do not sign anything with the bank. Do not talk to any lawyers. You bring that paperwork to me. I can shelter it under the family trust. We can classify it as a pre-existing asset. It's complicated, but I can make the tax liability disappear. I'm doing this for you, sweetheart. To protect you. Protect me? He wanted to swallow the inheritance hole to plug the holes in his sinking ship. Can we? Can we do it tonight? I asked. No, he said too quickly. He needed time to prepare the fake transfer papers. I have the Man of the Year gala on Saturday in Boston. It's perfect. Bring the documents there. We'll sign everything in the VIP suite before the speeches. I'll announce the expansion of the family fund. It'll look legitimate. He wanted the audience. He wanted the glory of announcing a $12 million windfall as his own business genius. Okay, I said. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for fixing this. That's what fathers are for, he said. I hung up. I looked at Luke. The fear vanished from my face instantly. "He took it," I said. Luke nodded. "Already printing the documents we would actually present. They looked exactly like the standard transfer forms Richard would expect. Same font, same headers. But the fine print wasn't a transfer of funds. It was an affidavit of sole liability. Richard thought he was reeling in a clueless daughter. He didn't realize he had just invited the executioner to his own party. The Man of the Year charity gala was held in the grand ballroom of the Fairmont CPP Plaza, Crystal. Chandeliers dripped light onto the shoulders of Boston's elite. It was a room full of old money, political power, and in my father's case, desperate clawing ambition. I arrived at 7:55 in the evening. I wasn't wearing the beige, sensible clothes Richard preferred me in. I was wearing a structured red dress that cost more than my car. I walked through the crowd, not around it. I saw Hunter near the bar, laughing too loudly, already 3 drinks deep. He didn't see me. He was too busy playing the role of the dolphin to a non-existent kingdom. Richard was at the front of the room, flanked by 2 senators. He looked radiant. It was the glow of a man who thought he had just pulled off the heist of the century. When he saw me approaching, his smile didn't waver, but his eyes narrowed. He excused himself and met me near the stage steps. "You're late," he hissed through his teeth, keeping his smile plastered on for the photographers. "Do you have it?" "I have it," I said. I held out the blue leather presentation folder. He snatched it from my hand. His greed was a physical force, vibrating off him like heat. "Is it all there?" he asked. "The transfer authorizations, the power of attorney. It's all there, Dad, just like you asked. It puts the entire $12 million under the control of the family trust. You just need to sign as the sole trustee to accept the assets." He opened the folder. He didn't read the clauses. He didn't check the definitions. He just saw the signature line. A smart man would have asked why the document was titled Affidavit of Historical Management and Sole Liability. A smart man would have wondered why the dates listed went back 20 years, linking him retroactively to every shell company listed in the appendix. But Richard wasn't smart. He was arrogant. He believed so fully in his own dominance that he couldn't conceive of a world where I was the threat. He pulled a Mont Blanc pen from his pocket. "You did the right thing, Alyssa," he said, scribbling his signature with a flourish. Finally, he handed the folder back to me, dismissive, already turning his attention to the podium. "Go find a seat in the back," he ordered. "I have an announcement to make." He bounded up the stairs to the stage. The room quieted. The spotlight hit him. I didn't retreat to the back. I moved to the side, photographed the signature page, and hit send 3 miles away. Luke received it, attached it to the whistleblower complaint we'd finalized days earlier, and uploaded it to the DOJ's secure portal. Moments later, Richard took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced proudly, "tonight we launch a historic expansion of the Mercer Family Foundation, a $12 million investment in this city's future." He was confessing in real time. In front of 500 witnesses, he claimed ownership of funds I had just tied to 2 decades of tax fraud. He thought he was unveiling his legacy. He was reading his own Miranda rights. My phone buzzed. "Received IRS confirmation code 99 Alpha. It's done." Richard was still smiling when the 60-foot LED screen behind him flickered. The foundation logo vanished, replaced by a Department of Justice seal stamped with red letters. "Federal asset seizure in progress. Case 8842. Applause collapsed into silence. Richard turned confused rather than afraid, his mind rejecting a reality that didn't match his script. That was his fatal flaw, not ignorance, but entitlement. He never believed someone he dismissed as insignificant could build a trap big enough to hold him. The ballroom doors burst open. 6 IRS CID agents swept down the aisle. Richard Mercer, the lead agent, ordered, "Step away from the podium." Richard clutched the mic. "Do you know who I am?" "We do," the agent replied. "You're the sole trustee who signed an affidavit accepting responsibility for 20 years of unreported offshore accounts." Richard spun toward me. "She tricked me, my daughter. Save it for the grand jury." Handcuffs snapped shut. Cameras flashed as he was led away. Stripped of grandeur, reduced to a man in a rented tux. I thought it was over. It wasn't. The VIP suite door slammed. The lock clicked. Hunter stood there sweating, purple-faced, frantic. "You ruined everything," he hissed. "It was already ruined," I said. "The money never existed." He grabbed a serrated steak knife. This wasn't strategy anymore. It was raw instinct. The moment when the illusion of family collapses and desperation shows its teeth. Luke stepped in front of me. "Open the door, Hunter." Hunter lunged. Luke caught his wrist, twisted, and the arm snapped. The knife skidded across marble. When agents forced the door open, my brother was sobbing. Not from pain, but from irrelevance. That was 3 weeks ago. This morning, Newport smells like salt and fresh coffee. I'm sitting on the porch of my cottage mine. I fixed the roof, cleared the ivy, made it a home. Richard was denied bail. His assets are frozen. His empire liquidated. Hunter took a plea. No inheritance awaits him, only work. I burned the affidavit on the porch. I don't need it anymore. The IRS and DOJ already have everything that matters. This page was just the fear I used to carry. Luke sits beside me. The trust transfer is complete. It's all yours. What do you want to do with it? I look at the ocean. 12 million nothing. I say let it grow. I'm still a nurse. Still Alyssa. The money isn't power. It's protection. Family isn't blood. It's who stands with you when the vault opens.